Welcome to Car Talk. This is where we talk about everything about cars. And today's topic is car design dead?
Just like my grandpa?
Yes, just like your grandpa. But we just saw from Audi the Concept C, which literally looks like they just copy Jaguar's homework from the Type 00.
It's like when you and bro do a test and get the same answers, same writing and everything, just different names.
And we've also seen this trend kind of bleeding into Ferrari's newer cars as well, with the new 849 Testarossa and the F80, how they're kind of taking a more flat, boxy design, and with that weird black rectangle at the end, which I don't personally like, but other people do.
I think the car design is actually pretty good. I like how the 849 Testarossa brings the Testarossa name back in a big way, bring callbacks to the original Testarossa. And it even looks like their flagship car. The only problem with the F80, I love boxy designs personally, but the F80, how do you put a V6 hybrid in that, but give the Parasongway a V12? That doesn't make sense.
So, follow up and a question. When I look at the 849 Testarossa, I don't see a redo for the Testarossa. I see a baby F80. That's literally what I see. I personally think, and this is probably just me, but I think that the SF90 was one of the last cars Ferrari made that actually looked good before they started following this trend. But here's the question. If you truly like boxy designs, and you know where I'm going with this, why don't you like the Cybertruck?
It looks like an autistic first grader drew it. That's why.
But it's a boxy design. It's the only Tesla with a real boxy design.
It's a pyramid. It's not even a box, it's a pyramid.
They're made of stacked boxes.
Touche. But I also think of Ferraris. The SF90 and recent Ferraris have been super aerodynamic, and that's something that Mr. Enzo Ferrari himself hated very much. He has been quoted saying, "If you need aerodynamics, you don't know how to build a good engine." So Ferrari implementing a bunch of aerodynamics is just going back on their founder's way of building good engines and very terrible aerodynamic cars. But now they're going back to that old way, the Enzo way, and that's what I like. Except they need to get that V6 out of the F80.
I think that is a good point. But back to the Parasangway, they have a V12 in it. They should put a V12 in the F80, but they should keep V12s in the Parasangway.
Or at least a V8 in the, like a 458 engine. I'm not saying they have to bring that back, but the Ferrari 458 is one of the best sounding Ferraris ever, or the F430 Scuderia. Both V8s. You could even put a V8 in there. I'm sure of it. You could still use a hybrid system that would make even more power, just like the new Corvette ZR1X that I think personally has a great design. And it is a V8. It's I think it's a LT7 V8, and that engine alone makes 1,050 horsepower. And now they have the electric motors from the E-Ray in it, making it to 1,250 horsepower. I don't understand why Ferrari didn't do something like that. I think Corvette really nailed the design of the C8 ZR1X. I think that car is going to be revolutionary. It's faster than a bunch of hypercars for a fraction of the price.
Well, the engine topic, we're seeing this with a bunch new cars. Car brands are really going down the trend of smaller engines, like four cylinders. I've been seeing a lot more four cylinders. Now, my thing with that is, and it honestly depends on the car too, but like, let's use the Mark V Supra, for example. I heard the Mark VI was going to have a four cylinder, but then I read it's going to have a V8. In my opinion, if it had a four cylinder, yeah, it would be disappointing because you can't say it has a V8. But if it's making the same power, which the newer four cylinders, along with newer engines in general, are making more power. Now, I'm not saying I support all things being four cylinders because I absolutely don't. I think it makes the car seem weaker. But um I do think though that the engine thing, especially with Ferrari, I don't really know where I stand on it, but it doesn't make sense why you'd put a V12 in a compact SUV and a V6 in a supercar. Or is the F80 considered a hypercar?
I don't know what's considered, but it's the flagship car of Ferrari.
Seriously?
Yeah, that the LaFerrari, the Enzo, the the F40, the F50, those are all flagship cars. The F80 is a part of that group, and it has a six-cylinder.
Uh-huh.
And there's just a reputation thing. Like you think of a Toyota Supra, you think of the Mark IV, inline six. You think of when you think of certain cars, you think they have to have a certain cylinder amount of cylinders. Personally, I think the more cylinders, the merrier because it sounds better. I don't think the four cylinders sound good, especially when
No, they don't.
it's a small four cylinder and the turbo is about the same size as the
Yeah.
engine. That's not really good. I think it's more efficient, but you're paying for a supercar, you want a supercar engine, or you're paying for an exotic or sports car, you want the exotic or sports car engine. You don't want a four cylinder that you can find in a Toyota Prius.
Now that is a similar point that I was just trying to make though with four cylinders, where they are making more power, but at the same time, if I buy a Huracan, and I know this isn't happening with them, I'm using it as an example. So I buy a Huracan, I'm expecting a V10, but it has a four cylinder. It's not the same feeling, nor is it the same at all. But I actually what I was gonna say, oh yes, with the Parasangway. So I think that the Parasangway is, and this is kind of off the topic of car design, but I do want to say this. I think it was really late to the game because when did I forget when Lamborghini came out with the Urus? When was that?
2019,
2019, and the Parasangway came out recent 20.
21, 22.
Yeah, so this is off the topic, but
I could be wrong on that, but I think it was
yeah.
21, 22.
I do think Ferrari was extremely late to the game with Parasangwe, but it fits into the topic of is car design dead because a lot of people thought it was horrifically ugly. I think that the SF90 and the Parasangwe were honestly some of the last good-looking cars Ferrari made before they kind of went the route of the F80 or the 849 Testarossa. But I do like the idea of them bringing back cars like the Testarossa. I just don't like the design. Like, there's plenty of cars I think companies should bring back, like Vauxhall, if they came to the U.S. with the 2005 Monero with a 6-liter V8. I mean, we did have the American version of that, which was just a Pontiac GTO. But
The final Pontiac GTO and Grand Prix were from Australia.
yeah,
They're from the land down under, and they just duped us. But talking about car design and bringing back old car names, there's a problem. People are running out names and ideas for cars, so they're using old names to bring back nostalgia and make them horrific. And now Chevy are not very good at this. The Ford Lightning, I think of Paul Walker driving a red F-150 Lightning in the Fast and Furious, not an electric pickup truck that looks not that good. And they have the Ford Mach-E, the Mustang, and you can see the Ford CEO saying, "We'll never make the Mach-E the Mustang electric," but they already did. And now, who there's reports coming back that the Camaro is coming back as a electric SUV hybrid.
that better not happen.
It's coming back as an electric SUV
Terrific.
to compete with the Mach-E. They are thinking the Mach-E is selling so many cars that they need to bring back the Camaro as a SUV to compete with it.
Chevy's done that before. They have a kind of reputation for bringing back cars and absolutely destroying them. I mean, they brought back the Blazer as this
That was
wimpy
horrific.
compact SUV. That was horrible. But I think Ford did a great job bringing back the Bronco, especially the Bronco R, because they kept it this aggressive off-road truck, unlike Chevy and the Blazer, which it's like the one kid no one ever really wanted. Well, I mean that's not. I mean the way Ford brought it back is people wanted the Blazer, but not that Blazer.
And with the Bronco, I just think it's a little bit of a Jeep now. Like there's differences between the Broncos and the Jeeps.
They're going that way.
The Broncos were bigger than the Jeeps, so if you want a car you could take the doors off, you could get a Bronco who instead of a Jeep Wrangler, but now they're about the same size. I know the Bronco's a little bit bigger, but it's just let car name like let brand like the brands and the names die and rest in peace.
But getting close to wrapping this up, I do think though, and this isn't the end. We got a little bit more to say, but some newer car designs aren't all falling off, but the majority of them are. And this is why the question of is car design truly dead? I feel like it's getting close to being dead, but it isn't quite there yet. And I'm not saying I like Priuses because I don't.
The new Prius
But
is kind of cool though. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, the new Prius, it still isn't cool because it's a Prius, but it does look a lot better than the older Priuses do. But I feel like eventually it is going to go the same route. Because picture Teslas, they literally all look the exact same, and that's the same way that these concept cars are coming out to be. And I've even seen Lamborghini doing this. In my opinion, it's unfortunate. We have things like the Tamario, and
I
some
like
people,
the Tamario, honestly. I think it's a
yeah.
cool thing. Revving up to 10,000 RPMs, that's pretty
Now,
sick.
I,
But
I I was reading things about the Tamario. Mechanically, engine specs and numbers wise, I like it, but I don't like it aesthetically. My only negative about the Tamario is exactly what this video is about, and it's car design. I think if you've ever played GTA Online and they have the car that's supposed to look like a Huracan, but it isn't, it's like a knockoff. I feel like that's exactly what I see when I look at the Tamario.
the problem with the new Lamborghinis are they're trying to keep them looking similar to the last generation.
But they don't.
You, they're they're like the Temu versions, like my buddy has said. You have like with the Lamborghini Gallardo and the Murcielago to the Aventador and the Huracan. They're two totally different looking generations. They still keep that famous wedged shape, but now they're keeping it, but it looks like a revamped Huracan and a revamped. The Revuelto looks like a revamped Aventador. I think what Lamborghini is doing is better than most companies, but I think they also have a design problem. I like the front of the Tamario. I like the specs. I like the specs of the Revuelto. I think they're both very good cars for the way the world's turning with hybrids and electrics. But I don't think the design is as nearly as good as it could be.
But on the same topic of car design, and Lamborghini especially, the new design for the latest generation of the Urus, I think, fell off with the Urus. I like the older Urus. I've never been like a huge Urus fanboy. I've never disliked them, but I've never like fanned over them. I really think, especially headlight speaking, on the older Urus looked much better. But to wrap this up, the question of is car design dead? Not yet, but it's definitely heading in that direction because there are more newer cars coming out or concepts that show you that car design is dead, but every so often there's a new model or concept that comes out that kind of gives you hope that car design isn't completely dead yet.
And I like to think about they're taking our steering wheels away and the designs are getting more dystopian. The more we lose our control of the drive, I think the worse the cars are going to look because it's a lot of cars in the future aren't going to be your cars. They're going to be like a taxi service, like the Robo Taxi here with Tesla. But you have you have all these cars that they're trying to make them look like a future and dystopian. I think it's a simple solution. Just don't take our steering wheels and keep the design good. But that's my personal opinion.
But to add one more thing, I do feel like it's going to get to a certain point, and I don't remember if I already said this. I think I have. But to wrap this up, I think it's going to get to a certain point where part of the main reason people are into cars is aesthetics, and it's going to get to a certain point where that's going to go away, and manufacturers are going to be forced to go back on car design. But that wraps up this video and answers the question of is car design dead? And the answer is no, not yet. And based off some new concepts we have seen, we still have some hope. But car design is not dead yet. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for more car-related videos like updates and even car challenges into the future. But with all that being said, thank you all very much for watching.